Good morning. Hope you're doing well. Hope you got a good night's rest and that you are ready for the day. Just wanted to let you know there's this song out that I'm really loving that I've been listening to every morning to kind of help me start my day. And it's called Good Day by Forrest Frank. Absolutely love it. I recommend you listening to that when you get up in the morning because it really changes the whole trajectory of your day. So it's a great song. It's very upbeat, uplifting. It's really a great way to start the day. So that along with reading your Bible. All right, so let me get back on track here. All right, so today is August 7th. All right, and we are in week 32, and it is day 220 out of 365 days of the year. We are reading out of the book of Ezra in Old Testament, chapter 5, verses 1 through chapter 6 up to verse 22. And I'm going to go ahead and just get started. And it doesn't look like there's any more names because I do not read names. I don't read lists of names. Okay, so we're good. All right. Now, Haggai, the prophet, and Zechariah, the prophet, a descendant of Edu, prophesied to the Jews in Judah and Jerusalem in the name of the God of Israel who was over them. Then Zerubbabel, son of Shealtiel, and Jeshua, son of Jozadak, set to work to rebuild the house of God in Jerusalem. And the prophets of God were with them, helping them. At that time, Tattenai, governor of Trans-Euphrates, and Shethar-Bonzani and their associates went with them and asked, "Who authorized you to rebuild this temple and restore this structure?" They also asked, "What are the names of the men constructing this building?" But the eye of their God was watching over the elders of the Jews, and they were not stopped until a report could go to Darius and his written reply be received. This is a copy of the letter that Tattenai, governor of Trans-Euphrates, and Shethar-Bonzani and their associates, the officials of Trans-Euphrates, sent to King Darius. The report they sent him read as follows. To the King Darius, cordial greetings. The king should know that we went to the district of Judah to the temple of the great God. The people are building it with large stones and placing the timbers in the walls. The work is being carried on with diligence and is making rapid progress under their direction. We questioned the elders and asked them, "Who authorized you to rebuild this temple and restore this structure?" We also asked them their names so that we could write down the names of their leaders for your information. This is the answer they gave us. We are the servants of God of heaven, of the God of heaven and earth, and we are rebuilding the temple that was built many years ago, one that a great king of Israel built and finished. But because our fathers angered the God of heaven, he handed them over to Nebuchadnezzar, the Chaldean, king of Babylon, who destroyed this temple and deported the people to Babylon. However, in the first year of King Cyrus, king of Babylon, King Cyrus issued a decree to rebuild this house of God. He even removed from the temple of Babylon the gold and silver articles of the house of God, which Nebuchadnezzar had taken from the temple in Jerusalem and brought to the temple in Babylon. Then King Cyrus gave them to a man named Sheshbazzar, whom he had appointed governor. And he told him, "Take these articles and go and deposit them in the temple in Jerusalem and rebuild the house of God on its site." So this Sheshbazzar came and laid the foundations of the house of God in Jerusalem. From that day to present, it has been under construction, but is not yet finished. Now, if it pleases the king, let a search be made in the royal archives of Babylon to see if King Cyrus did in fact issue a decree to rebuild this house of God in Jerusalem. Then let the king send us his decision in this matter. King Darius then issued an order and they searched in the archives stored in the treasury of at Babylon. A scroll was found in the citadel of Ecbatana in the province of Media, and this was written on it. Memorandum. In the first year of King Cyrus, the king issued a decree concerning the temple of God in Jerusalem. Let the temple be rebuilt as a place to present sacrifices, and let its foundations be laid. It is to be 90 feet high and 90 feet wide, with 3 courses of large stones and 1 of timbers. The costs are to be paid by the royal treasury. Also, the gold and silver articles of the house of God, which Nebuchadnezzar took from the temple in Jerusalem and brought to Babylon, are to be returned to their places in the temple in Jerusalem. They are to be deposited in the house of God. Now then, Tattaniah, governor of Trans-Euphrates, and Shethar-Boznaiah, and you, their fellow officials of that province, stay away from there. Do not interfere with the work on this temple of God. Let the governor of the Jews and the Jewish elders rebuild this house of God on its site. Moreover, I hereby decree what you are to do for these elders of the Jews in the construction of this house of God. The expenses of these men are to be fully paid out of the royal treasury from the revenues of Trans-Euphrates, so that the work will not stop. Whatever is needed, young bulls, rams, male lambs for burnt offerings to the God of heaven, and wheat, salt, wine, and oil, as requested by the priests of Jerusalem, must be given them daily without fail, so that they may offer sacrifices pleasing to the God of heaven and pray for the well-being of the king and his sons. Furthermore, I decree that if anyone changes this edict, a beam is to be pulled from his house, and he is to be lifted up and impaled on it. And for this crime, his house is to be made a pile of rubble. May God, who has caused his name to dwell there, overthrow any king or people who lifts a hand to change this decree or to destroy this temple in Jerusalem. I, Darius, have decreed it. Let it be carried out with diligence. Then, because of the decree King Darius had sent, Tattenai, governor of Trans-Euphrates, and Shethar-Boznaiah, and their associates carried it out with diligence. So the elders of the Jews continued to build and prosper under the preaching of Haggai the prophet and Zechariah, a descendant of Edu. They finished building the temple according to the command of the God of Israel and the decrees of Cyrus, Darius, and Artaxerxes, kings of Persia. The temple was completed on the 3rd day of the month, Adar, in the 6th year of the reign of King Darius. Then the people of Israel, the priests, the Levites, and the rest of the exiles celebrated the dedication of the house of God with joy. For the dedication of this house of God, they offered 100 bulls, 200 rams, 400 male lambs, and as a sin offering for all Israel, 12 male goats, 1 for each tribe of Israel. And they installed the priests in their divisions and the Levites in their groups for the service of God at Jerusalem, according to what is written in the book of Moses. On the 14th day of the month, the exiles celebrated the Passover. The priests and Levites had purified themselves and were all ceremonially clean. The Levites slaughtered the Passover lamb for all the exiles, for their brothers and the priests, and for themselves. So the Israelites who had returned from the exile ate it, together with all who had separated themselves from the unclean practices of their Gentile neighbors, in order to seek the Lord, the God of Israel. For 7 days they celebrated with joy the feast of unleavened bread, because the Lord had filled them with joy by changing the attitude of the king of Assyria, so that he assisted them in the work on the house of God, the God of Israel. Okay, now we're going to read out of New Testament, 1 Corinthians chapter 3, verses 5 through 23. What, after all, is Apollos? And what is Paul? Only servants through whom you came to believe, as the Lord has assigned to each his task. I planted the seed. Apollos watered it. Apollos watered it, but God made it grow. So neither he who plants nor he who waters is anything, but only God who makes things grow. The man who plants and the man who waters have one purpose, and each will be rewarded according to his own labor. For we are all God's fellow workers. You are God's field, God's building. By the grace God has given me, I laid a foundation as an expert builder, and someone else is building on it. But each one should be careful how he builds. For no one can lay any foundation other than the one already laid, which is Jesus Christ. If any man builds on this foundation using gold, silver, costly stones, wood, hay, or straw, his work will be shown for what it is, because the day will bring it to light. It will be revealed with fire, and the fire will test the quality of each man's work. If what he has built survives, he will receive his reward. If it is burned up, he will suffer loss. He himself will be saved, but only as one escaping through the flames. You got to look into this. This is not literal, okay? Right now, what they're talking about you and your body as a temple and what you do with the gifts God gave you, and how if you give into your fleshly desires, that you might get into heaven, but you're gonna have scars. You're gonna get burned. So you really want to do due diligence and be the best person you can possibly be with the gifts that God has given you. Don't squander them, okay? Because one of the things he's going to ask you when you get to heaven is, what did you do? There's two things. What did you do with my son? And what did you do with the gifts I gave you? My husband told me that. And of the Lord strikes with flashes of lightning. The voice of the Lord shakes the desert. The Lord shakes the desert of Kadesh. The voice of the Lord twists the oaks and strips the forest bare. And in his temple all cry, glory. The Lord sits enthroned over the flood. The Lord is enthroned as king forever. The Lord gives strength to his people. The Lord blesses his people with peace. And last but not least, we have Proverbs chapter 20, verses 26 through 27. A wise king winnows out the wicked. He drives them threshing wheel over them. He drives the threshing wheel over them, sorry. The lamp of the Lord searches the spirit of a man. It searches out his inmost being. So let's dissect that real quick. Proverbs is my favorite. A wise king winnows out the wicked. He drives the threshing wheel over them. The lamp of the Lord searches the spirit of a man. It searches out his inmost being. The lamp of the Lord is the light. Okay, that is the light within us. And the light seeks us. That's why Satan wants us so badly. He wants us to not know how special we are. And basically that's what they're talking about. They're just talking about, hey, don't let your lamp go dim. Don't. God is always looking for you. He doesn't move from you. You move from him. Okay? You seek God, he'll be right there every time. He doesn't move. You move. You. So he's there when you want him. You just got to reach out. Let him do his job. Let him make you be the best person possible. Because if you go by New Testament and red letter Jesus's teachings, dude, this world would be so awesome. There would be no problems. Everybody would love everybody. That's all Jesus taught. Jesus, that's all he taught, was to love God before any other gods and love one another. And if you think about it, if we all loved one another, this place would be heaven. All right, guys, that concludes today's reading, and I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I love you. Bye now.